house the other day in the hallway. You're singing "Oh Happy Day."
One word prayer. Justice, where are you?
Hey, welcome to Justice Served TV. Michael Bryant here. And wait a minute. I know LKB has admitted she had some stuff done, but I'm pretty sure that is not her. Sarena Townsend is back. Strangely, she's returned after having been here before. Thank you, Sarena, for being here. It's always a pleasure.
So Thanks for having me.
Oh, you bet. For those who don't know, a former prosecutor now has gone to the dark side, right side, other side. Been on Long Crime a ton with us. And, always one of our favorites, both there and here. So I'm happy to have you on to help fill in those as I X'd the Laboutiers. Is that a shoe? Laboutier, is that a shoe?
Louboutins? Come on, Michael.
I don't know. I thought I spelled it right. Anyway, to fill those shoes of LKB, who is off on assignment, as we know. So
I'm proud that I knew the name, honestly.
Yeah, I guarantee you, not in my closet. You won't find them. So how you been? What have you been up to?
Oh,
Happy New Year. And I'm not sure. Today is the 9th. I don't know. Am I pushing it? Can you say Happy New Year this late?
I'm going all the way through 10. I think we're still, the first 10, the first third of that month, we're going Happy New Year. Thank you. Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you very much.
Been busy, been working hard, prepping for a big trial, just doing the things that you get it. You get it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to spill any details, but the trial has some, overlap with what we're going to be talking about today. With primarily, we're going to be talking about the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni cases, because there's been a case in a separate case, kind of parallel jurisdictions, one federal, one state. Then there's been cross complaints promised, and we'll get into all of that. But obviously, one is based in sexual harassment, so there is an element of what you're working on that involves those types of claims, and they can be a mess. They can be dicey. The people involved, the emotion involved. So we're going to get into all that. A couple of things I want to clean up from last time. We did, Bob Bianchi. He was on Tuesday, and we were talking then about Karen Reed because they had the second part of the hearing to exclude the dog bite expert. The prosecution has basically said, what can we do to prevent all evidence from being entered on behalf of the defense? Let's see. Let's start with a dog bite expert. And so they had the continued hearing, and now that's done. No ruling, of course, yet. But what was interesting was we had a number of comments, and Hank Brennan is the new hired gun brought in by the prosecution, paying him a few dollars, and he's taking the lead now, which is weird because then you have Mr. Lawley sitting right next to him, the guy who failed the first time. As everybody knows, this is the case in which Karen Reed's accused of killing John O'Keefe, and it was a hung jury, so they're going to be back at it April 1st. It seems appropriate, doesn't it? It's April 1st. So
let's go.
All I wanted to mention was that people were somewhat sticking up for Hank Brennan because he's been getting trashed, and I'll be the first to admit I've been trashing him as well. Not because of his legal skill, not because of what his record may or may not be, because I don't even know. He's in a couple of associations. If you practice long enough, you get in a few associations, trial lawyer associations. My point was, he's not likable at all. To say he comes off as a jerk is a gift. And as I responded to some of the comments, I said he may be the most awarded attorney on the planet, but what's it matter to those 12 people in the box? If they don't like the dude, that's it. They're going to hold everything he says against him, and it'll be very hard for him to crack those nuts. So just want to throw that out there. What do you think? Have you seen him in action?
I haven't seen him in action, but I'm going to take your word for it because you came out pretty strong swinging against him.
Well, anybody that spent a couple of minutes is like, it's very hard to get past what he says because of how he says it and how snide he is and how arrogant he is. And I know there's a time and place but I couldn't find a soft spot in the guy the whole time.
People underestimate, I think, how important it is for a jury to like your lawyer. It is so important. You have to have the facts and that evidence, but your lawyer has to be intelligent and savvy. But
of course,
you also have to be likable.
Well, someone once said, never underestimate the power of likability. I think that might have
Yes.
been me.
Yes.
So the other thing I want to get into, of course, is we can't not mention what's going on in Southern California, the fires. It's unbelievable. I lived there for about 6 years. Luckily, of the fires that have all sprung up, I was kind of in an island in the Burbank-ish area. Did you spend much time out in California? Any school
not
or anything
me,
out there?
Not me, but my husband has a friend out there, and I've been watching the news a lot. And as soon as I saw Leighton Meester and her, you may not be familiar with Gossip Girl.
Of course, I had a daughter. I had a daughter about that age.
I saw that, I was like completely devastated because I felt terrible for her, but I feel terrible for everyone. I mean,
all of those folks, it's unbelievable what happened and the devastation we see now, as the smoke is starting to clear in some of these areas. It's just wholesale destruction. So I too have friends out there. I've checked in with them. All have very luckily missed out on this. But yes, some of the, this area, Pacific Palisades for sure, Altadena, which is just north of Pasadena, is much more, I'll say regular folks, for lack of a better description. Pacific Palisades, I couldn't afford to drive on the street in Pacific Palisades. They would
hunt you down, huh? Just pull you off the street.
Yes.
What are you doing here?
They have congestion pricing here in the city now. No, they have a whole different thing going on there. They just shame you. They shame you out of the neighborhood. But that doesn't mean what should happen should happen.
No.
What did happen?
People earn that money. They work hard for that money.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
so
our thoughts and prayers go out to those folks. And there is kind of a crossover with what we're going to be talking about here, because most of my connection was when I was working with Extra for about 6 years. And Extra gave me all of this foundation of working with celebrities and dealing with them. And we see that in this case brought by Miss Lively and also the case brought by Justin Baldoni. Their handlers become so important in stories like this. And I dealt with the handlers. It was not my favorite part of my career, to be honest with you. It's just too fake. It's just so fake.
They're literally hired to do that, right? They're just hired to block you from knowing the truth and just spinning their story.
And we'll look at a lot of the texts that were included in these lawsuits. I've kind of gone through them and highlighted stuff. We'll roll through them, the whole document, not bit by bit, but hit some of the high points. These are lawsuits that average about 80 pages each. So a lot of it is both exhibits and some of these texts, which, in this day and age, the social media structure, wow, it can take you down, or it can get you off the hook. It can build you up.
Right?
It is so important.
Yeah.
So important. Let's see. Oh, one more thing on my list. When we did the thing with Bob on Tuesday, it was picked up by a platform called Aussie Insider as part of their montage of things that were done. So we appreciate that. We picked up some more subs as a result, and I don't want this to sound like a telethon, but we're about 100 or so shy of 4,000. So it'd be nice to get to that number, just to then start begging to get to 5,000. But we got to start with we got to start somewhere. So thanks to those folks. Happy to help contribute to their montage. And I have to say, the montage it wasn't very favorable to anybody on the prosecution side, but so anyway, okay. Are you ready to dive into this case? Let's.
I'm always ready. Let's go.
Okay, so let's talk about the basics here. We have a movie that comes out, and it's called It Ends With Us, right? I'm not giving away too much to suggest that what it's about is Blake Lively's character grows up in an abusive home, not abuse toward her, but dad to mother, right? And so as she lives, grows up, gets a new boyfriend who's the Baldoni character, it becomes an issue. And so It Stops With Us, or It Ends With Us, relates to that domestic abuse issue. So very important issue. I did, when I was practicing more traditionally in California, sexual harassment cases, wrongful termination cases, retaliation cases, a lot of the stuff that we see in these papers. So I thought, what do you think of this? I thought we would run it's like a 2-minute trailer for the film, just to give people a sense of, because I don't think, based on the reviews, people are going to dash out to see this. I think it got like 55 on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that that's the end all be all.
But with the lawsuits, they might be intrigued.
Well, you would think, and I haven't, the paperwork, of course, says it's a smashing success, but I've not seen the box office receipts. You know what I mean? So let me see if I can dig this up for you. Again, it's a couple of minutes, and it's a classic, Hollywood trailer with all of those good, bad, and other things that you might expect. Stand by as I try to surf through my pile of goods here to find what I'm looking for. There we go. Okay, here we go. This is the official trailer.
Gather storms, never knowing what they'll mean.
Trailer starting now, in case you wondered.
Hey, Lily, you want to do the honors?
No, you go ahead. I need to take it in from here.
I was hoping you'd say that. Okay. Oh my God. Oh, that's my brother, Ryle.
The first official customer?
Well, you'd have to buy something to be considered a customer. Right now, you're just loitering.
We all have an idea of what love can be.
I want to see you again.
Now you see me.
You know what I mean.
That special connection you feel. That first kiss. But 15 seconds. That's all it takes to completely change everything.
I'm so sorry.
We gather storms, never knowing what they'll mean.
Atlas.
Lily Bloom, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
What are you doing in Boston?
I opened my flower shop.
I still remember the day I saw you in the window.
Yeah, we were just kids then.
Is that your guy?
Yeah, that's Ryle.
Even on my worst day, to I deserve, babe.
You tripped.
You gave me, 'cause I loved you.
You love him now?
Loved you.
I love you.
It wasn't my question.
I didn't have it in myself to go with
If one day you had a daughter,
What would you say to her?
she came to you and said the person she loved was hurting her, what would you say to her?
and I can go anywhere.
None of this is your fault.
As hard as this choice is, we break the pattern. Or the pattern breaks us.
All right. So as you can see, Mr. Baldani is not just an actor. He directed it and wrote it with somebody else. So are you intrigued? Are you ready to go see this film? What's the sequel?
I've been ready. I want to see it.
Do you?
I do.
Okay. I
just
watched
think
it last
it's
night.
ironic, right? Like, it's ironic that this is the topic of the movie, and now we have this lawsuit. I'm sure we're going to get into that.
Yes, we will. And I watched it last night, as part of my due diligence it's very interesting. One of the disputes that they seem to have is that Baldani says that Blake Lively exercised such control that she basically had her version of the film, the edit that she directed was the one released, that the studio sided with her, even though they put the two versions, his and hers, to a focus group, and his was wildly more popular. And again, these are the things that are being said in his lawsuit. Okay, so let's look at just the big picture on the lawsuits. We have sexual harassment retaliation brought by Blake Lively against Baldoni and his production company. It's Wayfarer Studios. So let's just wander through a couple of the documents here, and especially some of the texts and things that we're going to look at. Okay, so that's a big old header there on the first page. So this is typical California. You got every cause of action is listed here on the right. So it's everything, And one of my favorites in California is the intentional interference with prospective economic advantage. It's a good one. Basically it says you screwed me going forward to make money doing whatever I need to do. Yeah. So let me set this up just a little bit. Okay. As you might recall, here's my SAG card. As you might recall, SAG was they had a strike. they had a strike, and I should disclose I met Blake Lively at a SAG function once. Very nice. Don't even remember what the deal was. But it was before Ryan Reynolds. So anyway, so they had So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. What happened?
So what happened is in the SAG world, they had the big strike in 2023 from July 14 of 2023 till November 9th of that same year. So everything shut down. Well, this movie was mid-production at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all of the things that have been complained of by Blake Lively happened in the first portion of the production. Then they put their heads together. She had made all these allegations, and we're talking about things like, we should cover just a few of these, that he had some sort of pornography addiction, and he would share that with her, whether that be in form of videos on his phone or just descriptions. He broke into her. When I say broke in, he busted in. That's wrong. He went into her trailer uninvited when she was nursing. Okay, so in some portion of disrobing. What else is one of the biggies? Oh, he apparently reached out to her trainer. And remember, she's breastfeeding. She had a baby, I think, 4 months earlier, and said, "Hey, what might we do to kind of get her to lose a little weight over the next couple of weeks?" Okay. His version of the story is that he was only doing that because there was a scene in the movie where he had to lift her, and he has back issues. Now you see this guy's body in the film. You're going, this I should have those back issues. I would love to have those back issues.
Yeah, you should have his
front
back
issues and side issues.
Body. Come on.
So anyway, so that's what he was saying. I was only concerned about that part of the process. And then for some reason, that scene was never even filmed. So those are the kinds of things. We're not talking about, you hear about celebrities and these kinds of allegations. You think, oh, Depp Heard. You think this is another Johnny Depp Amber Heard. Not at all. This is more like a workplace environment case. And it's got to be weird, don't you think, when the workplace is a movie set?
Yes.
Where there's let me put this away so I can better see you, and then we'll jump back into it.
The line, right?
Yeah. It's okay. So what part is work and what part is going over the line?
Yeah, that's always going to complicate, the evidence and what is credible evidence and what isn't, because any other workplace, you are just you. You as a work person are still you. You're not pretending to be somebody else. You're not forced into intimate touching or other relationships because of work. But this work set does, in fact, require some sort of intimacy. And so what's going on? Was this him? Was this his character? How much did this need to be coordinated? All of those things are going to matter. And frankly, fast forwarding to the end, right? If this ever would end up in a trial situation, because that's where these lawyers need to be thinking also.
Sure.
What are you going to tell a jury one way or another about who's at fault and how much are they at fault? When it comes down to it, that kind of thing, the gray rather than it being black and white, is so difficult. There's always gray areas in every case, and sides and perspectives, and what was I thinking, what was he thinking, and maybe it was just a misunderstanding. But this adds 75 different gray layers to the spectrum when it comes to deciding what happened and what didn't happen.
Yeah. And I'd be shocked if it goes to trial, but you've got to be thinking that from the beginning. I mean, you could easily get people on that jury that are just these spoiled brat celebrities. Get over yourselves. I could see maybe there was some uncomfortable moments and things that were misconstrued on both sides, but come on, this is not an assault situation. This is not a battery situation, not a rape situation. So I could see how, if I were involved, I'd be avoiding trial as best I could. And none of the sexual harassment cases I took ever went to trial. They just, quite often, because the person you're accusing, and I was handling the plaintiff side for the most part, they, even if they're 100% innocent, if that's the right word to use, nobody wants to share that dirty laundry and have to fight about it. That's why the Depp Heard case was so amazing, and how many people it attracted, and people were just sitting there, drinking it all in because they probably know somebody, or even in their own lives experience these scenarios, and vicariously we were into it. That's the bottom line. So again, I'd never expect this to go to trial. So anyway, you've got this pre-strike production, then you have the post-strike. So before they started the new production post-strike, they came up with a document And to me, this is one of the most fascinating parts of this situation. Take a look at this. And they attach it here. It's sort of attached. I will blow this up here. I'm getting so much better at playing with these toys. I'm really impressed.
I'm impressed.
Well, too big. Okay, so just read some of these. We won't hit a lot of it. No more showing nude videos or images of women, including producer's wife, to BL, Blake Lively, and or her employees. No more mention of Mr. Baldoni's or Mr. Heath's previous pornography addiction or Blake Lively's lack of pornography consumption to her or her crew members. Now, remember, this is a list of items that was put together by both sides, by the production company, which is basically Baldoni, and Ms. Lively. So they, or their people, their people.
Right.
Okay. So it suggests that these things were taking place. And I don't know, would you agree to put this together if they weren't taking place at some level?
That's totally what this suggests. And that's why it's really, like you said, it's like mind-blowing because they actually drafted this, which essentially means that both sides agree this was happening and needs to stop.
Yeah. Seriously, I like is probably the wrong word. Number 5, no more descriptions of their own genitalia to Blake Lively.
It's weird because that's almost like, if I were Baldoni's lawyer, I'd be like, are you sure you want to write this down and agree to it? Because isn't this already kind of making
they're admissions? They're like admissions, right?
Workplace? Yes. Crazy.
Number 7, no more inquiries by Mr. Baldoni to Blake Lively's trainer without her knowledge or consent. And that was related to this weight issue. And so he apparently on his own reached out to the trainer to ask about, again, if this is true. 11, an intimacy coordinator. Have you ever had an intimacy coordinator in your life?
No, but you know what? The second I start making movies, I will.
Okay. And that's a legitimate job. If it's one of the weirder Hollywood jobs. This is a person who is on set most of the time, if it's truly an intimate situation, and that varies depending on the actors, because making out could be an intimate scenario for some, whereas you'd have to have full-on simulated sex to call it an intimate situation. So that's up to them. But the person just is basically a police person on set to make sure there aren't extraneous crew there, and that the modesty is maintained as best it can for the purposes of the film. So
you know what? It is a really important job. Honestly, we laugh, but it
is.
Really
well, it just seems weird.
I know it is weird, but the truth of the matter is, when you're in it, and your job might depend on your actions and desire to please the director or your partner in the movie. It's a very uncomfortable position for you to be in to advocate for yourself. And if you're uncomfortable, it's hard. So having that impartial person whose job it is to do this for everybody's sake is kind of a nice thing to have.
Sure. It's, in a weird way, it's kind of like negotiating a deal of some sort. You distance yourself from that kind of hands-on control. And, and that's their job. That's what they do. And then you can focus on doing your acting job.
Exactly.
Number 12 was no more personal physical touching of or sexual comments by Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath, who's also a producer, to be tolerated by Ms. Lively and or her employees, as well as any female cast or crew without their express consent. 13, interesting, no more improvising of kissing.
Yeah.
She suggested that during the movie, at some point, kissing was scripted. At other times, he would just do it himself.
Right. He just went off
freewheel on that. Yeah. And and please, no more biting or sucking of the lips. That's also not to be allowed.
Specifically mentioned.
Yeah. And they noticed that they mentioned here a body double. I can't remember which of the rules it's mentioned in. I don't, I was looking for that because I read all these things. Then I watched the film. I must have missed they must have done a great job with the body double. I couldn't really tell any difference. No more filming.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm never good at recognizing any of those.
By the
way.
I don't know. Well, these days with CGI, can't you do just about anything? But if they pan up and you see the person's face and you're seeing their face and their body in the same shot, I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be a body double. Anyway, no more filming of any BL nudity without a fully executed SAG-compliant nudity rider in place. So make sure you have your nudity riders with you.
It's all about that.
Very important.
Yes.
Intimacy coordinator for scenes involving nudity. So they mentioned the intimacy coordinator twice, interestingly. No monitors to be viewed or accessible on set or remotely during closed set scenes. And again, those would generally be those involving sex, simulated sex, again, to some degree or another. So here you have all of these. That's 30 items, 30, addressing what? Made up stuff?
Right. It just does not seem feasible that none of this, it's just so specific and it's clearly saying this must cease or this must stop, more than implying that it was absolutely happening until this was agreed to.
And it's interesting. I guess you could argue that, well, these things don't talk about it as if it has happened, but we're preventing it from happening.
Yeah.
As if they've just said, okay, come up with as many possible things that could happen and we'll write those down.
It could be a mix of things. I mean, there were certain things that were extremely specific, and even the way it was written, like no more doing this or no more. So like it was happening.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure they probably also try to, figure out what could also happen in the future if they don't write it down. And so prevent certain things and stop things that are already happening.
Yeah. And so you have this very tense situation, clearly very tense. One question I would ask, again, I'm not looking at one side or the other to advocate for them. I'm just thinking, what are the arguments on each side? If I'm advocating for Baldoni, I'm going to say, well, why'd you come back to the movie? If all of this stuff's going on, why did you come back? You're Blake Lively, you probably survive. Your husband's Ryan Reynolds, you'd probably be okay.
Yeah.
Why come back?
So Michael, I love you. And I hate that argument. And I know you're like, I'm just doing this to advocate and play devil's advocate, but I hate it so much because it's like, it's like, well, I'm doing all these bad things. And if you didn't like it, why'd you come back? It's like, why don't we just say, why'd you do the bad thing? Like, why don't we just keep the blame in the blame corner? And I hate it because it's like, well, here you have this woman who she is Blake Lively. It's true. She has a great living. But in my mind, it's like, okay, so just because she's doing great, it means she doesn't have to continue to do great. She should just be happy with what she's gotten. And she should be satisfied and okay with losing this movie because somebody is kind of sexually harassing her on set. Whether or not it did or didn't happen, I'm just saying, I don't love the argument because it's like, well, she came back because she committed to a movie. She probably wants to make money off of that movie. She worked hard. She probably rehearsed, as we all know. I mean, and I know the actual filming of a movie or, conducting a trial or whatever we do for a living that involves a presentation. There's a ton of work and time expended well before that presentation happens. So I imagine that she spent a lot of her own time learning her lines, practicing, doing all the work behind closed doors before even filming that movie. So it's kind of like, well, why come back? Well, because she's invested. And a lot of times this is just what Hollywood is. I'm sure this is not the first time she was sexually harassed, if this did in fact happen. And the answer is like, stop the harasser, not don't come back. It'll be fine if you just don't come back. You know what I mean? But I get what you're saying.
I can't disagree with you. I know. I'm anticipating arguments because I have a feeling that's going to be one of them.
And I think he did already kind of intimate that like that was going to be
like if this was really that bad, even if there's a hint of truth, if it wasn't, really as bad as you suggest, you wouldn't. You wouldn't come back. So well, I want to look at now some of the text that were between the let me see if I can find this one here. This was, so you have the lawsuit filed, and this all happens toward the end of December, just weeks ago.
Right.
And so you've got Baldoni trying to defend against that and take the offense, right? Mm-hmm. And so to do that, he has people. Do you have people?
Oh, I have so many people.
I have no people.
No, I have so many. I have a list.
I have no people. So he has people. And one is this Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel. They are basically one. Melissa Nathan is more a puts out fires.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas Ms. Abel is more traditional, representation, a PR person. Mm-hmm. So let me see if I can zoom ahead to page 36 in your notebooks. Take a look at.
Hmm.
If you go to page 36, and they start using a lot of the different text just to tell the story about each of the relative positions. Hold on here.
Yeah. Listen, Michael, we could always use crisis coordinators on our payroll.
Yeah, I mean, would you like to just have one? Just keep it handy.
Handle this crisis, please.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right? That's the first person you need to hire. You know what I mean? That's like,
here's I know. I have to be brutally honest. First of all, I was hesitant to do this story, to talk about this, maybe because of my years with Extra, and I felt kind of, I'm over the celebrity thing. But it's been talked about. There are some very interesting legal issues that we've talked about in terms of burden of proof, the issues with getting a jury that's going to be receptive, and really whether or not it's even going to go to trial. How's this going to really resolve? I mean, is anybody going to be happy? Really, what can you envision a settlement that's very happy that's going to do anything for anybody?
No, and it just really exposes, both sides to so much scrutiny by the public, and it's just, you mentioned this term earlier, it's airing dirty laundry, and it's just, it's embarrassing. It's very difficult to open up your whole personal life, especially intimate personal life, to the world, and it's even if you're the initiator and you're the one, accusing somebody else, you must know, and your lawyer is going to advise you that even though you're the accuser, it's all going to be opened up against you too. All the doors are going to be open.
Yeah. The one thing I do like about this, because it's the civil arena, there's nobody hiding behind a doe, right?
Yeah.
And so that's very different than in the criminal world, where quite often, in fact, I think it was in Jay-Z's recent case, he's asked the court to unmask the doe plaintiff. So it's very different in the civil world, where, and I say doe plaintiff, obviously the complainant, because it is a criminal matter and a civil matter both. Okay, so this is kind of the beginning of the text between Justin and his team. And that's too big. Hey, just landed. What is the TikTok strategy? I'd like you guys to start posting me only talking about domestic violence and clips and why this movie is so important. So he's trying to, at this point, it sounds like he's trying to, let's just focus on the movie. Let's not turn people away before, they even have a chance to see it. Let's focus on that. This is more from Justin. Also, I need you guys to really be on all the stories I'm tagged in. I think you should let all people direct message me so you can see people's reactions to the film, and I can be reposting everything. The next 36 hours are crucial, and we need to be on it, looking at everything, finding the most emotional and touching content from survivors supporting this film and reposting. Need you to be finding survivors sharing their stories. So again, that's his focus at that point. Then things seem to shift just a little bit. Let me see if this is the one that kind of showcases that. This is from Justin to his people, one of his PR people. In the middle of it there, I want to be on an offensive move showing my neurodivergence. And I have to look that up when I get a chance. And some of the attributes that come with it, so I can start talking about it. Most anything that I have been accused of is social awkwardness and impulsive speech. And I think it's like, has he been to therapy on that? Do you think those things have been tossed out?
Listen, if impulsive speech is a problem requiring therapy, sign me up.
Yes, I'm with you on that. I think me sitting down with him and talking about Dr. I don't know if it's Dr. Amen or Dr. Amen show, but some show he was going to be on, and just looking at my brain and talking about some of these things will be helpful for me. Okay. So again, that was one of his first to his people. Then this is about the press being going so well. But you ever think about what it costs to put out fires that you may have? This is some interesting insight, if nothing else. We understood audience is solely JB fan base. In other words, so of course they liked it. The studio is covering all these bases. Quote, $175K for 3 to 4 months, including a website to discuss, as they say, full Reddit, full social account takedowns, full social crisis team on hand for anything, engage with audiences in the right way, start threads or theories to discuss this in the way to be fully 100% protected. Or option 2, 25 grand per month, minimum 3 months. I don't even understand that. Quote, to 25,000 per month. That sounds like 50,000 per month to me. I don't know.
Oh, well, I think he's just saying quote number 2. Like the first quote is 1.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm looking for a number. 25 per month minimum. So that's 75 grand. Thank you so much. Minimum 3 months as it needs to seed, same as above. This will be for creation of social fan engagement to go back and forth with any negative accounts, helping to change the narrative.
My God, I need to
on track
immediately. I need to become a crisis manager. I've decided.
Don't you feel like, when you have a family, you're kind of a crisis manager anyway?
Yes.
To some degree.
Pay me for it.
One of the other things they talked about was that they were getting, basically they were going to hire friendly press, or lean on. And I know from being at Extra that it is a frightening symbiotic relationship. Extra and shows like that exist only because they have access to celebrities. If you poop on a celebrity, even if it's telling the truth, you're done. You will not, whoever that is, and perhaps whoever is in the publicist, cadre, maybe celebrity X doesn't like what you did, and so X, Y, and Z also, you're out.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's how you get biased media. I mean, you don't have to say anything, but that's sometimes how we get biased media.
There's no doubt about it. And I just think in the entertainment world, it is rampant, and it is understood, and it's just the way it works. So, I'm not, you may have noticed.
I'm not politics too, Michael. You should.
There's no doubt about that. No doubt. And unfortunately with maybe sometimes worse consequences.
Yes.
But the whole, fawning over celebrities, I'm not a fawner. So that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Okay, so here we have Jennifer Abel to Melissa Nathan. You can, of course, do that. And I think she's referencing a story that she wanted to do. But I do think he needs to know, meaning Justin, I'm going to confidentially send you something. He's texting me and Jamie, again, the producer, on the side, just to arm you before the call. I think you guys need to be tough and show the strength of what you guys can do in these scenarios. He wants to feel, talking about Justin, he wants to feel that she can be buried.
That's not a good line. That's not a good line.
That's not a good line. And then continuing, we can't write it down to him. We can't write, we will destroy her. We will go to this. We will do this. We will do this. We will do this. I guess they're going to do this.
They're going to.
He has to look at it as an information document for us to be armed with. That's all. Imagine if a document saying all the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands.
Like this one?
Yes. I don't know. Are we the wrong hands? Oh.
So as lawyers, right? We're just like, oh my God, stop.
I know. I mean, can you imagine?
You are doing exactly what you're warning not to be done.
Of course. And I think people just feel like there's some sort of security in their little handheld device, but it is dynamite, man.
It is.
Okay, so here we have, again, Abel to Nathan. I'm having reckless thoughts of wanting to plant pieces this week of how horrible Blake is to work with. And just to get ahead of it. She's putting us through hell, because what she's posting is what she believes is her truth about what happened.
Yeah.
And of course, that's definitely disputed. And then we have Melissa Nathan saying, I'm already off the record, spoke to the editor of Daily Mail because she's my friend. So these relationships are rampant in Hollywood. And that's, it's the business. Quote, she's ready when we are. So
yes. And as you kind of mentioned earlier, when you're going through all of this, it's like, aside from this informing us about the actual lawsuit and what happened behind closed doors, and we can apply this knowledge to the lawsuit, it is giving us so much insight into how things work behind the scenes in the movie industry, in the media industry, crisis, all of that stuff. We're learning about how much things cost people to do. It's like a lot of information that we're all benefiting from in this lawsuit.
Yeah, and we went through the Harvey Weinstein Me Too debacle, which was, ripped the Band-Aid off of any illusion. People kind of thought the casting couch was real, but they had no clue what it was really about. So this is on a much more subtle level. This is I'm glad, far more common than
Yes.
the Weinstein type problems. Not that those weren't too common as it was, but this is day-to-day business. This is just every day.
Right.
So
this
okay.
is normal course of business, and it is also people learning how to do bad things differently in a safer way for themselves.
Yeah, it's just, I just feel like I need to take a bath after I read this stuff. Not that I'm squeaky clean, but I just it's, I always say try to do the right thing, and I just think as you're writing these, are you doing the right thing?
Right.
I know you're getting paid, so you have what is Justin getting for his money, and you have Abel saying to Nathan, I can tell you've done a lot of work here. Nothing about being unsafe, fat comments, sexual. These are all the buzzwords that they were trying to squash, and then thank effing God. So they're being successful, right?
Right.
Let's see. I like this little exchange here. So are we in the clear now? Did we survive? We survived. All press is so overwhelming. We've confused people. So much mixed messaging. So in other words, we flooded the market to the degree that people are either in favor of Justin or ambivalent, right?
I think it's so condescending to say what they say. I think it's kind of funny. Like they're trying to manipulate public kind of perception and just gleeful over it. It's kind of gross.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the nature of the biz. That's a good day. It
is.
We had a great day today. Look what we did. Let's see. And it just in that vein continues. Yes, I had some people text me too, and I just didn't respond. The narrative online is so freaking good, and fans are still sticking up for Justin. And there literally has been no pickup of those two articles, which actually shocked me. The two articles were the ones that told Blake's story, basically. You did such amazing work. Narrative was crazy good. So did you. We're just having a great day.
Yeah, we're just congratulating each other all day.
The majority of socials are so pro Justin. I don't even agree with half of them. God, it's nasty.
It's great.
There's just so much here. So, okay, let's bring this back to our sophisticated legal discussion. Excuse me while I go take a shower.
Right.
And so this stuff, obviously, if it were to go to trial, would play out in front of a jury, and they might have similar reactions that we seem to have, or they may just say, so what? That's the business, and they may feel some sort of brush with celebrity just by being involved in evaluating a case like this, right?
They might, and they might just feel that way about both sides, which is also something we were talking about earlier. Like they might just be like, I just don't care. These are high-powered individuals on both sides, getting petty, getting messy, airing dirty laundry, taking cheap shots at each other. None of this ever ruined either of their lives. If anything, they've gotten more publicity over this. And like, let me go back home to, my family where I'm just trying to make ends meet, do my 9 to 5, take care of my, why are you pulling me into your Hollywood drama? And I think that's a very real risk in these kinds of cases.
So how do you're picking this jury, how do you avoid those people really, I don't think they help either side.
They don't.
So how do you ferret those folks out?
It's a good question. I mean, you really want to try to dig deep into people's feelings about justice and feelings about whether they take the system seriously, whether they feel, have they ever sued somebody in the past? Have they ever gotten sued in the past? How do you feel about people bringing lawsuits? Because remember, both sides are kind of bringing suits at this point. And there are a lot of people out there who just feel like lawsuits, especially among people who could afford to just move on, are frivolous. And I think the first thing I would want to do is try to aim towards moving people like that off of the jury, people who are simply not going to take this seriously at all. And also on the opposite side, I would want to try to identify kind of fangirls or fanboys, right? People who are like, I just really want to be on this jury because I want to write a book after this, or I want to make TikToks after this, or, I am just obsessed with celebrity. So you always want to, I think, take away the extremes. I'd love to focus in on just some like blue collar dude who like drives a bus every day, Again, he may look at it as frivolous, but at the same time, he may also feel right is right, wrong is wrong. I want like an average person to just take it seriously and feel like it's an important task that they're tasked with.
I think your social media tact is a good one because you can learn so much from somebody. Just how often are they online? What kind of stuff do they do? Are they Instagram? Are they just to their family on Facebook? I mean, that whole genre of communication will tell you so much. So we're talking about the press and their role. There was an interview that was done. I'm going to roll just a couple of minutes of it here between the interviewer and Blake Lively and one of her co-stars. Interestingly, and this is all related to the dust up they're having, they did not do press. Blake Lively and Justin Baldini did not do press together. The leading man and woman in this story did not do press together. And there's also some suggestion that others on the cast, are you ready for this? They unfollowed Justin.
The ultimate
on Instagram. Oh, I mean, how do you recover from being unfollowed?
God almighty.
So this is an interview that is, I would say it is uncomfortable maybe at best. Yeah. So let's this is just a little bit of this is all we really need, but you'll get the feel for it here.
Okay. Congrats on your little bump.
She's saying, okay, I stepped on that, so I'm going to say it. I'm going to rewind that.
Yes.
She basically, the interviewer is congratulating Blake on her quote little bump. Okay, because at the time she was pregnant. And listen to the response here.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
She's not pregnant. The interviewer is not pregnant.
Kill me right now. I would die.
And they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
Thank you. Thank you. You like the movie? Are you a Woody Allen fan?
I love most of his movies, and this one was so like visually amazing.
Now watch what happens here. First of all, I've been in that chair many times.
Yeah.
Never. I mean, some people are fun to talk to. I don't care what they do. Some are just, it's agonizing. And this woman, you could tell she's in pain. But watch what happens when they start talking about the clothes, and what the interview spirals.
Did you guys love wearing those kind of clothes that you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And working in digital.
Everyone wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would.
I love Jesse's suits and how
that's what I'm saying. His wardrobe was beautiful.
I know.
Corey's wardrobe was gorgeous.
He's
those
so
high-waisted pants.
He's so great.
I would wish men wore high-waisted pants like that still. Or their father with his tank top in bed.
It's so good.
It's just like
there she sits. I mean, it's just brutal. This was for a Woody Allen film, Cafe Society. I just make sure I clarify that. It wasn't for the subject movie, but it was after that. And so there's this weird dynamic between maybe not such a friendly press outlet, in Blake Lively's opinion. I don't know. But that kind of interaction, it goes on all the time. And you usually see them playing nice, I'll put it that way, because everybody's there for the same reason. We're here to promote our project, and then we're hoping to give you an interview that you can use to help promote our project, right?
Yeah, it was giving pretty mean girl behavior right there.
Yeah, I mean, they totally shut her out of the interview.
Yeah, I will say that I did enjoy the lovely lady lumps citation, because that comes directly from Fergie when she was in Black Eyed Peas and the song My Humps, which
I did not know
my
that.
favorite. So I will give her kudos for just pulling that one right out. That was cool.
That's a good reference.
Yeah, listen. But right after that, I just thought the whole, like, would you ask a man? And also like the nice bump back at her. I was like,
nice baby bump. And she knows this woman is not pregnant and says, oh, you're not, that is just a slut. Okay, I'm going to audibilize here because you mentioned Fergie and the Black Eyed Peas. So I have a story. Okay. So I'm doing the I call it the Obama DNC. This is way back in 2004 when he like blossomed on the scene. 4 years later, he's president. I'm in the hotel, nice hotel overlooking one of those squares they have in Boston. And I come back from the the normal work days, kind of you're covering so much stuff and extras on in California. They're doing it so they get 3-hour gaps, so you might be working later. About 10 or 11 o'clock, whoever's in the room next door just starts up. I mean, it's a party. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be fine with that normally if I were invited. But I've worked hard. I got to get up in the morning and do it all again. Mm-hmm. 2 nights of that, I went to the desk. I said, look, and I had a great room. It was like a corner room. I never get a corner room. And I said, I don't care where you got to put me, but I got to sleep. I got to be able to do this. Turns out it was Fergie and the Black Eyed Peas in the room next door, enjoying, the party. So I still love their stuff.
That's all they were doing.
Yeah. Well, and I was smelling certain things that were wafting through.
Probably just flowers.
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Was she doing cartwheels? That would be impressive.
No, I wish, to be honest, if I'd seen her or them as it was unfolding, it probably would have been less an asshole. But I had to go to sleep. Sorry.
That's a great story.
Anyway, so where was I? Oh, so we're talking about the importance of getting the right people on the jury for a case like this. We should mention too, let's talk about the New York Times case briefly here. That's the case by Justin Baldoni. He's not included Blake Lively in that case.
Right.
This is basically a more traditional defamation case saying that the newspaper published her story without properly vetting it, and it made it look worse for him than reality. Therefore, it's slanderous. It's libelous.
Libelous. Yeah.
It's libelous. It's defamation. So how hard is it to prove a defamation case against a newspaper?
I would say it's quite difficult. Obviously truth is a defense. They're going to claim that they already have claimed, I think, that they have meticulously investigated before publishing anything. Look, they might be able to even say things like, we had no reason to believe it wasn't true. If she's lying about you, deal with her, not us. I mean, this is something that we couldn't definitively disprove. It felt right. We saw the texts. We saw certain other things. We spoke to witnesses. And if those witnesses lied to us, that's not necessarily on us. We believed them. It was the truth based on our investigation. It's interesting because in a way, Blake gets a little bit of a benefit here because since he's got to sue the Times and he's not suing her, he's suing, at least not yet, he's suing the Times. It's almost like now it's Blake and the Times against him versus just him, But I'd love to hear your thought. What do you think about that?
The level for defamation is so increased when you have a public figure, right?
Sure. Yes.
Newspaper versus a public figure. If it was against me or my neighbor here, the standard is much lower. I have to prove if I'm a celebrity, if I'm a public figure, public official or public figure, I have to prove malicious intent.
Yep.
I have to prove that they knew it was false and then did it anyway.
Yep.
That is so difficult. Whereas if it were just regular schmo, then it's more a negligent standard. Like, they should have known, they should have investigated. Well, that's a little easier, but to just prove that they knew it was wrong and they said, we're printing it anyway.
Yeah.
Tough. That's very tough.
That's going to be real difficult to prove.
Yeah.
They would need to have had their own series of texts where they're writing like, ha ha ha, we're going to screw over Justin Baldoni with this one. We know she's lying, but who cares? It's going to sell papers.
Exactly.
That's not going to happen.
So, who knows what the actual purpose, maybe it's just to look like he's taking the offensive, that he's really standing up for what's right by going after the publisher of the story, the republisher, really. Okay, I have one more thing to show before we wrap up this intense discussion, only because I have another clip. So part of the Baldoni team is so concerned about everything being said and done by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, who's been relatively low key in all of the fray. Allegedly, he was involved in the meeting where those rules we first talked about at the top of the hour, where they were developed and agreed upon, and he confronted Baldoni. That's the story anyway, primarily about going behind his wife's back to the trainer about the weight issue. Whether that happened or not, I don't know. But my gut impression overall is that Ryan Reynolds has really taken a step back, said, my wife's a big girl. She can handle this herself. I respect that, and I think it makes it a little less muddy. There's
Yeah.
been a promise by Baldani's attorney, who was on the Megyn Kelly show the other day, that he's going to sue everybody, Ryan, Lively, others involved in the smear, as he believes it should be called. Didn't talk about what the causes of action might be, but just promised a lawsuit. Anyway, so
To oblivion.
in the movie Deadpool and Werewolf. Is that right? Deadpool, Wolverine. Yeah, again, this is all screwed up. Deadpool and Wolverine, and I love the Deadpool movies.
I don't know this as well.
You don't know Deadpool and Wolverine? Come on.
I do, but it's not really in my vernacular.
It is more of a guy thing. I get that. And the first couple were so funny, so clever, so smart. This one didn't do much for me, but there's a scene in it in which Baldani believes they were making fun of him.
Right.
Okay? That he was used to be a ponytail wearing guy, and that he talks about a woman pregnant, but she looks great, and it's okay. I'm a feminist. So he really thinks that was written to stick it to him.
Just for him.
It's maybe he's a little into him, but let me show you this clip. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. I don't want you to get see. There's Wolverine. There he is.
He died.
And then so then they come up the hill, and then they meet. There are all these alternate. Well, first look at this doggy.
Oh my God, how cute!
Is that a real tongue? It's unbelievable. Look at that dog.
What a cute dog. That's a ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So in this particular film, there are a number of Deadpool characters, almost like alternate universe type characters. So we're about to meet one of those additional Deadpools. Okay, here we go.
But in here, everybody calls me Nice Pool.
Nice
Oh my
Pool.
goodness, wait till you see Lady Pool. She is gorgeous. She just had a baby too, and can't even tell. I don't think you're supposed to say that. That's okay. I identify as a feminist. Right. Are those gold-plated 50 caliber Desert Eagle?
So that's the part that he says was written about him to make fun of him. I mean, is that being hypersensitive or what?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, sounds a little self-centered and sensitive. That's a stretch. How are you gonna be able to prove that? I actually think, look, I think he wants to get his side of the story out there. He doesn't necessarily even care, at least at this point, whether he wins that lawsuit, for example, against New York Times. I think it's just, as you can see, he's a very strategy-minded person. He's got all the crisis coordinators on there and his publicists trying to figure out how to flood the media with this or that and try to make him look better. And I think this lawsuit against the Times and maybe the threat of another lawsuit is kind of just his way of, again, flooding the world with his side of the story without it just being like an article. This has like the gravitas of a lawsuit, and therefore people will pay attention, report on it, and get to hear his side of the story, even if it doesn't actually make out the elements that he's going to be able to prove down the line.
Yeah. And he does make some good points about things that have happened to him. The real question is the cause. I guess his agents, he dropped him kind of in favor of her. They put out, as I mentioned earlier, her version of the film. So there could definitely be consequences as a result of this thing. But how much was caused by him? How much was caused by her? That's yet to be determined. So
that's right. We'll have to keep watching and finding out.
That's right. Okay. Well, before I let you go, I'm gonna check one of my polls here I put out here. There's a lawsuit underway, a defamation case against CNN. Have you heard about this?
I don't think so. Well,
yeah, it's kind of an oddball case. Court TV is covering it, and that's why I threw this question out to our folks, and I said, any interest in the defamation trial against CNN? One answer was yes. It's always interesting to see civil trials. One answer was no. This is a boring trial. And the third one was, what's a CNN?
Oh no. Okay.
13% of the people said, what's a CNN? So they're as mean as I am, or they just But 63% said yes, they would like to watch this trial. I think it's going to be over maybe this week. But on the stand, most of the week has been the plaintiff.
Yeah.
Who says, and it all had to do with getting Afghan citizens out of Afghanistan when that whole debacle took place. And they're painting him, CNN painted him as a kind of a for-hire mercenary, that if you had enough money, he would get you out of the country. And it doesn't come off too well in that story. So
Yeah.
he's suing. But a problem is, to circle back to our beginning conversation about Mr. Brennan in the Karen Reed case, he's not likable. He's on the stand and he's just cocky, and I don't think he's helping himself.
Important. It's so important. You know, the evidence, the facts are important, but above and beyond that, you have to be believable. And to be believable, you oftentimes have to be likable.
Well, I know somebody who's very likable. You, Sarena Townsend. How's Paul? How's Paul, your husband? Is he doing well?
Fabulous. Yes,
Okay.
he is the best. And, you know, one day we'll both come on here maybe. And we'll
That
just
would be mind-blowing. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
He's my crisis coordinator.
Oh, you could probably get a good rate then. That's a good idea. Keep it in house. Well, I will hold you to that. I look forward to it. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Michael.
you know, LKB, she's a handful, but you do a pretty good job keeping up with her. And
it's hard to fill those Louboutins. It really is.
Take care. We'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.